Take a person who memorizes every financial textbook on the market. They build flawless spreadsheets, yet their bank account remains completely frozen. Even when systemic opportunities and market conditions remain identical, one person scales while another stalls. The differentiator is the internal software processing those external variables. This schematic of the human brain's default operating system shows the problem. We are not wired for wealth generation. This survival filter deflects incoming green nodes, new opportunities, while prioritizing the red nodes that signal immediate threats. In modern finance, this survival instinct manifests as a compulsion to play strictly not to lose. We prioritize safety and view abundance with suspicion because our ancestors survived by fearing the unknown. Following these factory-setting impulses leads to a mathematical certainty of financial mediocrity. Moving toward wealth requires identifying and manually overriding these evolutionary defaults. The brain's primary objective is energy conservation. Complex problem-solving and high-stakes decision-making require immense metabolic resources, so the brain naturally seeks the path of least resistance. This energy-saving mechanism often manifests as the victim mentality. It is metabolically cheaper for the brain to blame a broken system, effectively closing the file on the problem, than it is to expend the glucose required to find and execute a solution. The first override is the demand for total ownership. You have to force your brain to accept that every financial outcome is your responsibility, which prevents the mind from defaulting to a low-energy excuse. There is a sharp distinction between wanting to be wealthy, which is a passive state, and a commitment to wealth, which requires the continuous expenditure of high-level cognitive energy. Extreme ownership converts passive frustration into strategic action, successfully pulling the brain completely out of its deep, energy-saving hibernation. Humans are hardwired for loss aversion. We are biologically programmed to fear the social cost of failure and public embarrassment more than we value the potential gains of a successful venture. This fear dictates our behavior, leading us to set reasonable goals. We choose targets that we are almost certain to hit, primarily to protect our ego from the sting of a miss. This graph illustrates the cost of safety. By setting reasonable expectations, the trajectory inches upward before flatlining. When you force the brain to contemplate goals 10 times larger, the sharply exponential curve branches upward, revealing the reasonable path was actually a ceiling. Abandoning safe goals removes the illusion of stability. That pressure forces the mind to stop making minor adjustments and start engineering entirely new exponential solutions. Our evolutionary threat detection system is like a radar screen constantly pulsing with red alerts: market volatility, rising costs, and potential failures. Fixating on these daily threats causes decision paralysis. When the brain is locked in a state of high alert for risk, it lacks the bandwidth to process anything else. Wealth building requires an active override of this threat scan. You have to train your focus to look past the red dots to find the unexploited value and hidden opportunities that others ignore. We also carry a tribal bias. When we see someone with vastly more resources, like an expensive luxury car, it often triggers an instinctual moral judgment or a flash of jealousy. This creates a state of cognitive dissonance. If your subconscious views wealth as a moral failing, it will actively sabotage your own financial progress to ensure your identity remains good. Replacing jealousy with analytical admiration removes that internal conflict, giving your subconscious the green light to pursue similar success. Recalibrating these biological filters changes your perception of the global economy. You start detecting actionable data points that your default brain was previously programmed to ignore. Begin by taking radical responsibility for your current financial baseline. Eliminate the habit of attributing your position to external forces. Next, manually multiply your financial targets by 10. This creates the necessary pressure to break through the loss aversion barrier. Practice blessing and admiring the success of others. When you encounter wealth, analyze the strategy behind it rather than critiquing the person who has it. Move from a state of wishing for wealth to committing your energy and resources toward it. Treat wealth generation as a mandatory project, not an optional dream. Wealth begins when you stop reacting to your evolutionary impulses and start acting as the conscious architect of your financial reality. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, hit subscribe, and share this video to make sure you see the next installment.